Good evening, everyone, and welcome to episode 4 of the Trace Anime Podcast. I am your host, Tim, and with me, as always...
Hey, it's the Black Pearl.
Alright, and we're here, as always, to talk about 3 wonderful anime films. Well, perhaps wonderful, perhaps Dragon Quest, your story. You never know when it comes to the Trace Anime Podcast.
Bizarre.
Indeed. And so we did a little bit more modern last time. We did some weathering with you, some more films from the last few years. So we decided to hop back in time.
I'm going back to Cali. I don't know how that song goes.
No, I don't know about Cali. We're going back to the 70s, though, and the 80s. Disco. Indeed, yes. Saturday Night Fever. You want to tell us about the 3 films we're going to be discussing today, Pearl?
Okay, the 3 movies we're talking about today is Taro the Dragon Boy.
Taro.
The Castle of Cagliostro. And Swan Lake, the one I can say.
The one with the simple title. Yeah, the Cagliostro is not pronounced how it looks, as I discovered when I watched the film, because I was saying Lupin and Cagliostro, but it's Lupin and Cagliostro.
Yay.
Pronunciation. Learn it. Love it. Grammar.
Pronounce however you want. We'll know what you're talking about. At least on my end.
I mean, I thought it was Cagliostro my whole life until we watched the movie last week, so, I can't judge anyone. Anyway, shall we get into it?
Yes.
It's Taro the Dragon Boy.
Child of a dragon, child of a dragon, child of the wild, wild wind.
Released in 1979, written and directed by a director I'm not really familiar with, Kirio Urayama. And this, interestingly, is an early film from Toei Animation, who's a very, very, very famous anime producer, more known for TV, Dragon Ball, Sailor Moon, Digimon, One Piece, and it's based on an ancient Japanese folktale. So why don't you tell us a few little details about Taro the Dragon Boy, Pearl?
It makes me crave rice after watching it.
This movie is full of rice.
It's full of
much
rice.
It's a lot about how rice is way better than millet.
Yes.
What's millet? I don't know.
Millet, what I remember is almost like I remember feeding it to the birds. Like it's a tiny seed. It's not very filling I would assume for humans. Like you would have to consume a lot for humans.
Because I've seen the movie Seven Samurai, the famous samurai film, and in that film, it's the bandits are stealing their rice, so they all have to eat millet, and the millet sucks. They're even in the movie. They're like, I tried millet. It was terrible. And they bring the samurai in to work for them by offering them rice instead of millet. So, but in this movie, they hate the millet. Now, they also have beans.
But what kind of beans? They don't really specifically say.
Whenever you say beans, I just think of like Mexican food, but maybe that's not it.
Yeah, there's different kinds of beans,
So let's set up our setting here. So this movie, Taro the Dragon Boy, is set kind of in a sort of a tiny little wooden villages, kind of on like these rock islands around Japan. And we're not even talking like medieval here. We're talking like what's before medieval, We're talking about like ancient period, like not quite Stone Age, but just like a few notches up from that, just like wooden houses and
feudal Japan.
Feudal, yeah, basically.
That's what you're going for.
Yeah. There's no big castles here, just little wooden shacks.
They're kind of up in the mountains, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, up in the Rocky Mountains where there's not good soil for farming.
Correct.
And so we're in a little wooden village, right? Mm-hmm. And we have Taro. He goes by Taro the Dragon Boy exclusively. Whenever anyone asks him who he is, he says, "I'm Taro the Dragon Boy."
That's how they talk to him, too. Like, you have to say the whole thing. You can't just say Taro.
Taro the Dragon Boy.
You have to say the whole name.
And he lives with his poor grandma, and he's just always hassling her for food.
He's always hungry.
I mean, admittedly, he only eats millet and beans, so I guess I understand.
Well, she mentioned something about cake. Like, I don't know what is going on.
Where are you getting the fucking cake from?
Mud? I don't know.
Mud cake? Well, now, he has a bunch of little animal friends. I don't know why he doesn't eat them.
Because he's friends with them?
I guess that's true. But so he's kind of lazy. He also he walks through the mountains a little bit. He doesn't just lay around. He sings a song.
Yes.
It's like, it's obviously not the same voice, I think, as the main voice. It's like a woman's voice singing, "Blow, north wind, blow."
He's kind of singing about who he is and like the wind, which is it's a nice song. It's a pleasant song.
It's all right. He's with his animal friends. He meets a Tengu wizard.
Yes.
Who just straight up gives him a strength potion.
Yes.
And I'm like, well, shit, I wish I met a wizard who gave me a strength potion.
He just kind of comes in and they like wrestle and then he's like, here, drink this. So now you have like strength of 10 men.
I think he's at 100 men.
Oh, okay. We're going to bump it up.
Yeah, holy shit.
And then, he kind of gives them like, don't use it for evil or whatever,
like,
selfish reasons.
It'll only work if you're using it for good or something like that.
Yeah.
So anyway, so then he meets, he harasses grandma a little more. Then he's out in the mountains again. Oh, and we should also mention that Taro likes to stand on his head and reveal his clothes fall down. He reveals his penis.
His penis is out.
And it's not like just subtle, and it's like the whole shot is
There's like a shot.
It's just like a close-up of his penis. So I'm like, well, thank you, director Kirio Oriyama. I'm very glad that you added that.
There is a common theme throughout this movie of just like boobs being out.
Just like women are just hanging out.
Penises are out. There's plenty of butts.
And there's not like sex scenes, it's not like
No.
sexual. It's just like there's just a scene of people hanging out in the village and just... There's just a few dicks out and a few boobs out in the crowd,
Yes.
Just how you do.
Like the women that were cooking the rice, there's like one that just her breast is
it's
just
kind of
out.
like almost like a toga, just like but one breast is just revealed.
Well, when that steam just, hurt you. Oh, never mind.
I don't know. It reminds me of when I was first kind of discovering anime, because I feel like anime is a little more prudish about that now, but there used to just be titties flying. Because I remember, I saw like Pokemon, Dragon Ball when I was a kid, and I was like, this anime seems so neat. I mean, I was like 13, so I was like, this anime seems... So I went to Blockbuster, right, and was like, let's rent some anime tapes and bring them home. So I was like, what anime is good? So I grabbed Ranma, one half. I was like, I heard of this, it's good. So I'm just watching it in like the main TV room, that my parents like walk through. And I don't know what's going to happen. Just like me and my friend are there. And have Ranma, and we're just like 12, and just then the titties are just flying. And I'm like, oh, jeez. So we turn it off, and we wait till my parents go to bed. We watch it after dark. But this thing is not even considered like an adult show in Japan. It's like aired for everyone, aired for the whole family to watch. But it's weird by American standards. You watch it, and the titties are just flying. So.
At least your experience was kind of positive. Mine was in the middle of the night, where they play like, it was like after hours anime and stuff, and it was like
channel.
I got more of like sex and stuff like that.
Yeah,
at a young age.
You don't see too many animes these days with sex scenes in it, and Taro doesn't. But yeah, the titties and the dicks are flying in this
That's
movie.
a classified porn section.
But yeah, so that's just a little interesting thing to note about the movie. It's quite casual about that. It doesn't give a shit.
I guess the 70s were like that. They were just kind of casual about
in Japan,
it.
I guess. I
guess so, yeah.
So Taro, he goes up in the mountains and he meets a girl named Aya.
She plays the flute.
It's pretty nice, and then he does a handstand, and she's embarrassed when she sees his
little penis.
She's pretty embarrassed. But then a red demon shows up.
Yes.
And he's a pretty mean guy, and he takes Aya, and it's all no good. But so Taro fights him a little bit, and then red demon gives up pretty easily. He's not.
Yeah, he's not really that bad. It's like, meh.
He's like medium bad.
Yeah.
He's like kind of a bully, but not like fully evil, I guess.
Exactly. He's not as bad as Black Demon.
Black Demon, who they go up in the mountain, and they're all fighting Black Demon, and a red demon helps them actually fight Black Demon, and they're all teaming up there, and they throw Black Demon off a cliff.
Yes.
Just when then some villagers were coming to bring a girl to sacrifice to Black Demon.
Yes,
or something.
she sings to him.
It's a little messed up. What's going on here?
Yeah, she sings to him, and he doesn't destroy the village, is what my understanding is. Now, Red Demon loves to play drums. Let's not forget that. He always has a whole bunch of drums.
And then Taro has kind of an out there idea. He's like, Red Demon, why don't you jump up in the clouds and become like a thunder god? And Red Demon's like, well, that's a good idea.
And he just throws him up there.
He just does it. And I'm like, I don't think that would actually happen if you threw up in the clouds. But, like I said, it's based on an ancient folk tale. Don't overthink it.
Don't overthink it.
But anyway, so then...
they find all kinds of treasures.
They do.
Including a huge supply of rice.
And a horse.
A magic horse.
That Aya takes. And then they're eating rice patties. It's great, loving these rice patties.
And then what kind of happens is they find this lake, and the villagers need that water. So they move a giant boulder to get the water to go down to the rice paddies to help them stay hydrated, because I guess they need a lot of water is what our understanding is. Now, during this time, just kind of out of random, it's not really brought up again, there's a magic mirror that Aya gets.
Yeah, that's a little...
The old man's like, here, take this mirror. And we find out later, like, for half a second, it's magic. It's kind of like...
It's like in Beauty and the Beast. Yeah, you see stuff.
And that kind of happens.
Yeah. So we're definitely kind of, with the lake thing you mentioned, we're exploring, I think maybe the central theme of the film is like famine, hunger, like hard living and kind of like ancient times. And that's a theme that runs through the whole movie, mostly through, like you mentioned, rice. Rice is just the golden, it's pure gold in this movie. It's what everyone wants. But so Taro's grandma tells him the real story of how, where he came from. His mom has been turned into a dragon.
Yes.
And Taro didn't know this, which makes me wonder why he goes by Dragon Boy if he didn't know this.
Yeah.
Why are you a dragon boy if you didn't know that you came from a dragon?
I don't know. Maybe grandma was like, here's this. Well, I mean, she was like, here's what. She's like, I don't know. My daughter just turned into a dragon. She didn't know the exact reason. We find that out later.
Yeah.
But when grandma finds him, he's like floating down a river, and he's like drinking out of what was supposed to be like this eyeball, but you know, at first I thought it was just like an unusual bottle. It's an eye.
It's a little messed up.
And then, you know, he drinks all the milk from that, and so grandma goes and finds her daughter and says he's hungry and I can't get him to stop crying. So she takes her other eye and gives it to him, and then mom has a very calming voice with whatever's going on, and she's just like, and now I'm blind and I must go. And then she leaves.
Yeah. We get some more songs here. Well, we reprise the wind song, but instead of singing about north wind, now we're singing about blow, sea wind, blow.
Yep.
And we get the greatest song in the history of animated motion pictures, I think, which is Taro the Dragon Boy is great.
Taro the Dragon Boy is great. Dragon Boy, he is great. Hi-ya! He got rid of Black Demon. Oh, yes.
He is great. He got rid of Black Demon.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes. And we watched the movie and it's been stuck in my head ever since.
It's a good song.
I don't think a song's been stuck in my head since I saw like Aladdin or something the first time like 30 years ago. It's just jammed in my head. I just can't stop.
He got rid of Black Demon. Oh, yes.
It's pretty good tune. So now you're amped up for adventure. You're amped up. This is some real ass adventure. He's going to find his mom. So of course he goes and works on a farm for a while.
But before that, do you remember because remember they're having this feast and they're eating all this rice and these rice balls. Do you remember what you asked me?
What I asked?
You asked me, how do you make a rice ball? I don't know how to make a rice ball.
You just like smush a bunch of rice together?
I don't know. I think there's more to that. I think there's like other stuff.
Seems a little bland to me, but I'm sure if I was like starving to death in ancient times,
you would do just about anything.
Think it was the best thing ever.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm gonna have one of those now. I want like some cheese and refried beans, and
So his mission basically is to find his mom and find the dragon, and so he hears that this older woman who has like a rice farm.
Yeah. Old. I don't even know her name. I just wrote down our little notes here. Old rice woman.
I think that she has a dragon in a lake.
So she says.
So she says, which turns out to be a lie.
It's a snake in a lake.
And he's like, she's a liar and everything.
After quite a while of farming.
He does a lot of work.
The birds help, though.
Yes, the birds help.
So it's kind of interesting.
And so does Red Demon.
Red Demon. And I didn't know about how any of this worked, and I assume it's reasonably accurate. They have like these little shallow lakes, and they plant the little rice. And then I was like, that's interesting. I didn't know about that. And if you'd asked me where does rice come from, I would have just been like, I don't know.
I had a feeling, because I've seen him in a lot of, like in My Neighbor Totoro.
When I was a kid, I thought rice was just pasta. They just cut into tiny pieces.
No. In My Neighbor Totoro, I knew where it came from because they have those rice patties everywhere, and like the grandma is like, "This is where I work." I don't think she literally says that.
But yeah, so he works on that farm. I'm not sure how long, but the movie made it seem like it was a little while.
Yeah,
like
it did.
He was a full-on employee, you know, and but then finally at the end he's like a snake in a lake. It's not even a dragon, so he's like lame.
So he's like, I'm leaving and I'm taking the rice with me.
Well, what she says is, you can go, you can take all the rice you can carry, because she thinks he can carry, you know, like a handful of rice.
Little-
Then he takes all.
Little does she know that he's taking the entire harvest.
Because he has the strength of 100 men.
Yes. And then he heads off into the mountains and he goes to a bunch of villages and just kind of gives them some rice, and they eat some of it, and then they save some of it so they can plant it and try to make their own rice patties.
And there's a scene I thought was pretty neat where we see kind of how they're doing it. There's like these wooden slits, basically.
Yeah.
That he like slings the bushels of rice into, then he yanks
exactly.
them out to make the rice fall. Then he's like smushing it and then like boiling it. It's a neat little setup. And when they're boiling it, you can smell it. You're like watching the movie, and they're in the movie. They're like, it smells so good. You're like, I want some rice so bad.
These people are like severely underweight, and you just feel for
You're
them.
like, I want some rice.
I
so
want
bad.
some rice.
I should have paused. Next time we watch the movie, I think we got to get some rice ready to
That's a
eat.
that's
We
a
gotta
great idea.
make rice cakes so we can eat them
Just
at the
eat
right
them.
at the right parts of the movie. And we got to get some millet too, so we can eat that and be like, ugh.
I don't even know if do they even like still make that for humans.
Literally, all I know is that in Seven Samurai, someone tries it and they're like, "This is terrible." I don't know, but yeah. So now finally we've gotten through our rice farming section. Now we get back to some adventure. We get back to some supernatural creatures. He comes across a witch.
Oh my god!
And why don't you
Talk
tell
about
us-
another breast coming out.
Yeah, and she's just talking to him, and like a full-on titty just pops out.
Yes.
And it's not like most of the other titties in the movie, the nipple is just like one little dot. She has like a nice big juicy nipple. They like animated like the whole areola and the bump of the nipple. It's just, so they gave us a nice juicy nipple, but it's on like a hideous old woman. And I'm like,
Yes, and she's
thanks.
like wanting to cook for him, but it's like, I'm gonna make you spider stew.
Maggots and snail shells
Snail
and maggots.
and crushed bones.
And I'm like, thanks. And he's just like,
He's like,
I think I'm gonna go.
I gotta go. So he leaves and then goes up a mountain that's snowing. There's like a blizzard going on.
Within like a minute of leaving the witch, he's getting attacked again
By some like ghost women?
Yeah. And doesn't Aya come to help him out?
Yes. Yes.
The horse can fly.
Yes. It gets like a little bit, it like started kind of small and then it got bigger. And they start going from lake to lake, trying to find a lake that has a dragon in it. And then they eventually do.
Yeah, they talk to the fish in this one lake, and they're like, is there a dragon down there? And the fish is like,
Tell me, fish, does a dragon live in the waters of this lake? Yes.
yep. I'm like, oh, that was easy.
That was easy.
Then Mom comes out, and it's true. She is, in fact, a dragon.
And then she explains her side of the story.
Why don't you tell us about how Mom became a dragon, Pearl?
God. I think the moral of the story is you need to share.
Yeah, that's the kind of the moral of him taking the rice, I guess.
You need to share. Okay, so when she was pregnant, she didn't have a lot of money, so she had to work, and so she would help the men in the forest, I guess.
Help gather food,
stuff
yeah.
and make lunch and all that stuff. And so she managed to get 3 fish from the river,
It's pretty good.
and she cooked them. And she said it smelled so good, she ate one, and then another one, and then another one.
Oh, shit.
She didn't share, and the gods punished her, and they turned her into a dragon.
Now she's a dragon.
Now she's a dragon.
And that's it. That's the end of the movie. No, I'm just kidding. There's more.
So the moral of the story is, when you order a pizza for a party and you eat the majority of it, the gods might turn you into something.
Turn you into an anchovy.
To an anchovy. Oh, God.
So Taro pitches an idea to Mom. This is calling back to earlier in the film. We had a lake with a boulder stopping it up. We had the same situation here, but this is like an even bigger lake. This is like the Mamba Jamba of all lakes. You know,
Yes.
this is like a mega lake. So he was riding Mom like a dragon, like, you know, you'd ride a dragon.
Yes.
And they're smashing up this boulder, and Mom's just going for it. She smashed the boulder, and releases the lake, but she does it so hard that she fucking dies. You see, she's like
falling apart.
She's like, your bones are like broken and poking out.
And there's like flesh coming off.
Gory. I'm like, Jesus Christ.
It wasn't bloody. That was the interesting thing. It wasn't bloody. It was just like chunks of flesh coming off and bone.
It was more gruesome than what you see in a Disney movie. We'll put it that way.
Yes.
So, but then the lake, it all drains out, and we have nice water going all over the valley. We're getting all these nice little pools that are perfect for growing rice in.
Yes.
So then Mom, she's in dragon form, and she's like, now I die.
And then she perishes.
Yeah, and it's very sad. But then, it's kind of like when the Beast dies at the end of Beauty and the Beast. You know, he's like, he dies, it's very sad. But then wait, then magic starts to happen, and then the dragon flesh falls away to reveal Mom in a human form.
Go on, say it.
And she's nude.
She's curvy as fuck.
Yeah, she's thick. Mom, she got some real. You think you see what Taro's dad was hanging on to when they were conceiving Taro? She got booty. She got a little something packing.
Because of her selfless act, the gods let her be human again.
But we see it all. I mean, I don't think we see we don't see pussy,
like
but we do see ass and boobs and. Yeah, she don't look like she ate 3 fish. She looks like she ate 3 dozen fish fillets from McDonald's.
Give me that fillet of fish. Give me that fish.
But anyway, so yeah, it's nice. And then he's mother, and they hug, and Aya's there, and the animals are there, and it's a beautiful little reunion. And and we get a nice little epilogue where they say that now rice grew all over the valleys, and no one went hungry again.
A vast fertile land was made where the lake had been. The people of the mountains grew all the rice they needed and lived happily ever after.
Yes.
It's the end. So tell me, what do you think of Taro the Dragon Boy, Pearl?
This is a movie, like, I'm sure, I mean, there's a whole, like, plethora of movies that I've never even heard of. Yeah. I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, well, you know how I found this movie? So we were saying, let's look for classic anime. So I heard of Castle of Cagliostro, so I looked it up. It said 1979. So I literally just Googled anime movies that came out in 1979. And that's how I found Taro the Dragon Boy.
That's pretty good.
But yeah, so what'd you think of it?
I thought it was a good story. I mean, I didn't know that part of it being like a folktale.
You can kind of tell, though, I think.
But
when
you
think
can
about
definitely tell, like, you're like, oh yeah, this feels kind of like someone's reading me this story at home kind of feel.
1,000-year-old story.
But I thought it was good. I thought that was like really old anime, and it's actually pretty good.
Yeah, no, I like it. I liked the songs.
The songs
only
were
a couple
good.
of them. I liked the titties flying everywhere. I even liked the rice farming section. You know, it was interesting.
It was interesting.
I've learned more about this movie from where rice comes from than I probably learned from anything else in my 35 years of life up to this point. So it's an educational film. Show your kids; they can learn about dragons, titties, and rice.
You're gonna want to eat rice afterwards too. And now talking about this makes me want to go
get some rice. No, I think definitely next time we watch this, we're putting the rice in the pot like when we start the movie. So by the time they get the rice patties, the rice will be ready to go.
Rice will be ready to go.
We'll be eating rice and watching the movie. It'll be so good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did like it. Maybe if we see if it's possible to buy on DVD, I don't know. But for now, at least as of the time I'm recording this, it's free on YouTube. Just
check it out.
You look it up and you can watch it. But yeah, it doesn't seem to be that well known. There's not many reviews and stuff of it on the internet. And this is also an interesting thing I discovered, is that it has a very mysterious dub. Because unlike a lot of other older anime that were dubbed like decades later sometimes, even like some Ghibli movies weren't, like Pom Poko wasn't dubbed for like 20 years or something. This actually did get dubbed not long after it came out. I think it was like the early 80s. But like all the info is like lost. Like you look up the cast of the English dub and it's like unknown. It's a mysterious dub. Who are these voices? The information is not on the internet. It's like lost in the wind. So it's kind of, that gives it that folk tale vibe, right? I mean, admittedly, all the Japanese voices are credited, but who are these English voices?
Yeah, that's...
Look it up on Wikipedia. It says voices unknown.
Interesting.
No one knows who did this dub. It's creepy almost. It's like, who are they? Who are you people?
Who's that woman with the comforting voice?
Unknown, according to the internet.
Damn it.
What do you think about that? Isn't that a little creepy?
That's a little creepy.
In like a good way?
Yeah.
It's like a ghost story.
Exactly.
Almost.
You just want to curl up and be like, whoa.
It's like you watch this movie like at 2 a.m, like in a blanket, like it's snowing outside. You have your rice. You're like, spooky movie.
Watch out, a witch might come out of nowhere.
Yeah, it is. You got witches and ghosts. It almost has like a creepy vibe to it, but then kind of like a ghost story around the campfire sort of way.
Yes.
So yeah, I like the movie. I'll watch it again, definitely. Any more thoughts on it?
No, I think I'm ready to talk about the next one, but I would like to try to find it.
What, Taro on
Yeah.
DVD? I looked it up on Amazon. It exists, but it's like the thing where you have to order like a used copy because like there's no new copies even out there. But
It might be worth it.
or it's one of those weird movies where it might actually be easier to get on VHS.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's how they
yeah.
originally released it in the U.S. on a VHS.
Yeah, you might be right.
With mysterious voices. All right, shall we move on to the Castle of Cagliostro?
All right, hit it.
Also released in 1979, and this was directed by a very underground, little-known anime director named Hayao Miyazaki. You know, no one's ever heard of that guy.
Nope, never
Director
heard of him.
of little unknown movies like, My Neighbor Totoro, Kiki's Delivery Service, Princess Mononoke, Spirited Away, Ponyo. No one's really aware of this guy.
Nope, still never heard of him.
No, never heard. Well, this is actually a pre-Ghibli. So I remember when we were watching it, you said, Miyazaki, why don't we own this? And I said, we own all the Ghibli movies. This is not a Ghibli movie,
It's
actually.
a different category.
And it is based on apparently a super duper like Dragon Ball level famous manga series called Lupin the Third. And there's comic book series, TV shows, many other movies, and it's like a mega franchise. But this is kind of obviously a younger Miyazaki, pre kind of doing his own studio. And they're like, you want to come direct a movie of this series? And he's like, yeah, sure. I'm an up and coming anime director. And he made this. And now people say it's the most famous entry in this whole mega franchise. So it's pretty interesting. Actually, first, before we go, let's mention the characters who are part of the entire franchise and not just this movie. We got Lupin the Third.
Uh-huh.
He's a gentleman thief. We got his friends Jigen. Do you remember?
Jigen?
Jigen, I don't know.
Jigen?
He got a hat. He got no eyes.
He has one.
You see his eye?
You didn't see it?
I guess I looked away.
It's like at one point his hat is like at an angle that you can see one eye out.
Okay. And he has a samurai friend named Goemon. He's kind of like the secondary sidekick.
Yes.
Jigen is the main sidekick. Goemon's
Yes.
secondary. He has a lady friend, rival, lover kind of person. Not quite a frenemy, maybe.
A frenemy, I would say.
Fujiko Mine. And he's always pursued by Inspector Zenigata, who chases him like the guy from Les Miserables.
And I'm Javert.
Javert, that's right. So those are the characters who are like beyond this movie. All right, so now we'll bring it back around to this story. So why don't you bring us into it, Pearl?
So we meet Lupin. It's not Lupine or Lupin.
Or Lupin. I thought it was Lupin until I watched the movie.
And Jigen.
His friend.
And they're stealing money from a casino. And, they make a huge deal about it. They've actually managed to destroy all of the cars, basically.
Yeah, they set up some traps.
They had a lot of time on their hands because all the cars were dismantled in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
And as they're driving and they're celebrating...
The car stuffed with money.
Stuffed with money, dangerously so, that you could barely see. Lupin realizes the money is counterfeit.
Mm-hmm. He's like, this is not real, so they just throw it out the car.
Throw it out
and create like a major traffic hazard.
Pile up.
Major traffic hazard. It's not good.
And so they make this plan that they're going to go find out where the money, like who's making this almost perfect, realistic looking counterfeit money.
They call it the goat bills.
Goat bills?
What is it? Is it like an abbreviation for greatest of all time? I don't know. Or is it literally just like the...
That's
pretty
good.
Goat bills.
Going after the goat bills.
So they go to a little tiny, like European-ish country called Cagliostro.
Looks kind of like Switzerland.
Yeah, it's got nice architecture.
Yes.
Nice. So what goes on in Cagliostro?
On their way there, first they have to, disguise themselves to get in. But once they get there, they realize a car chase is going on, and a woman in a bride outfit is being chased by a bunch of thugs.
In pursuit.
And they go and help her, but, eventually
She gets caught anyway.
She gets caught anyway. But she's wearing this unusual ring.
Yeah. Which doesn't Lupin end up getting?
Yes.
Or should she hand it to him?
It was in her glove.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. So then they go on and they find this castle. Well, at first it just kind of looks like old ruins, and
yes,
and it's not that. It's it's nice and it's kind of impressive. But then they go beyond that and they find like a beautiful castle in a lake. It's like fucking majestic as hell, man. It's like some of the best castle I ever saw in an anime.
Also, it has a lot of modern technology involved with it. You've got elevators. You've got, like, tunnels that can go from, like, one part of the castle to the other. Yeah. And it's, like, to the tower.
Nice aqueducts. That's not really modern, but they are nice.
And, of course, you got your usual, like, secret rooms, trapdoors.
It's a hell of a castle. That's why it's in the name of the movie, I guess. Yeah, most of the movie is in and around the castle, and
yep.
We find out the girl's name was Lady Clarice.
Hello, Clarice.
And she's engaged, I get captive of and engaged to her distant cousin, I guess, Count Cagliostro.
Yes, I talk like this.
Yeah. And one thing that's kind of interesting you'll notice as you go through the Miyazaki films is most of them don't really have villains per se. They kind of maybe have like you have Lady Boshi and Mononoke, and you have the wizard and Ponyo. They're kind of like the bad guy, but they're not like pure evil, They kind of have like their motivations. And then some of them, like Totoro and Kiki, don't have a bad guy at all. But this movie, however, does have a Disney villain.
Lady Boshi's mean.
She's mean, but she has, she's trying to save her village,
Yeah, but destroying the forest?
Well, we'll save this conversation for a future Trace Anime podcast.
It's kind of a dick move.
It's a dick move.
It's a dick move.
Well, Count Cagliostro, he's the next level dick. He's just like...
Well, anyone who talks like, yes, no, like, seriously?
And he has like a little drone plane that he flies around.
Yes.
It's pretty impressive.
Yes.
But, so...
And he's got kind of like a henchman.
Yeah.
Like, he's kind of like, he reminds you of sort of like Igor.
Yeah. And he also has little ninjas called like the Shadows or something.
Yes.
The little creepy dudes.
They got like long, like metal nails or something.
A little intimidating. So, yeah.
Yes.
So, and then Lupin and Jigen, they eat some spaghetti. Looks real good.
It looks so good.
I actually liked that little cafe they were hanging out in. It looks pretty
cool.
cozy.
They should have showed more of that.
Yeah, I like the village. I was like, let's hang out in this village more.
It was a nice little village.
But anyway, so then he goes in. Well, he's being pursued by this Inspector Zenigata, and he's after him. So then Lupin goes into the castle. He's looking for Clarice, trying to find what's going on. He goes in through the aqueducts, pursued by Zenigata the whole time. And it's a nice little scene of him going in, swimming in through it. It's a sneakiness. It's like a heist movie, sort of.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
And then he eventually finds her. She's sitting in a dark room. Like, there's no lights. Like, they turn the lights off. Yeah. What are you doing? You trying to save power? It's
true. Well, but don't forget, before that, he also ends up in the catacombs. And they're just like, they're full of corpses. There's like 1 billion corpses in there.
Oh my God.
It's like, what the fuck? Him and Zenigata both end up down there. And then they're like, well, just go to sleep with these corpses.
Yep.
And then the bad guys make the mistake of not just leaving them in there to starve and die. They go in after them. It's like, whoops, we got your costumes. Now we go out the way you came in.
Yep.
Classic bad guy mistake. You just leave them there.
Yep, and they lock that gate, and then they lock the next gate, which was very smart, because that, like, if they get through one, you have to go through another.
Yeah, then Lupin eventually does some climbing, some serious climbing.
No kidding.
He's like he's like a superhero. He's like Spider-Man.
There's no climbing gear, by the way, none. He's literally just using his hands.
I think, doesn't he have a rope at some point?
He does, but
he doesn't have like advanced climbing equipment.
No.
He's just going for it.
Yes.
I was getting a little acrophobic watching it. I was like, ugh.
Yeah. And then he's like trying to jump from one part of the castle to the tower.
Mm-hmm. And he does make it. He does make it after a little extra work, but he makes it. And Clarice is in a little dark room.
Didn't he like run or something?
Yeah, there's one part where he's running. It's running like down a roof, and it's
very terrifying.
Yeah, I was like he's getting pretty nervous.
Yeah, I was like, oh no.
But he does meet up with Clarice and all that, and but then he's Count Cagliostro does find him, And his lady friend's trying to help him, but Lupin gets shot, actually.
A lot.
Yeah, he gets a bullet straight through him. I'm like, that's not good. But his friends do save him just in the nick of time. But Cagliostro does get Clarice. He wants those rings. They're going to help him find a treasure.
There's some kind of there's a riddle about the rings, and he's trying to solve it. So he's like, if I marry her, we're able to solve the puzzle.
So then Lupin's recovering, right? Well,
Yes.
then the Count, Inspector Zenigata goes and tells the United Nations or something
Yeah, the
about
UN,
the
basically.
money printing presses, and they're like, oh, no.
Well, some of them were like, we kind of knew about it.
They don't seem that interested.
But anyway.
What's he inspecting for if they're not even gonna? Oh well.
Yeah, exactly.
But then there's one part of the movie I wasn't really sure about. I wasn't sure the movie needed it, where Lupin's like, I actually met Clarice once before.
I thought there was going to be more to that, but it was just
She was
I met her.
I robbed this castle before, and then she was like a little girl, and there was a dog. And I'm like, okay. I didn't really need that for the movie.
And now back to the story.
I was fine with this being the first time they met. I didn't really need any more than because like when you find out Anakin built C-3PO, you're like, okay.
Well, I'd be like,
Didn't
well,
really-
when I decided to build this guy, it's like, okay.
Didn't really need that, so I could have lived without that in the movie, But it's all right. Then there's the Princess Bride bit, basically I call it, where the Count is getting married to the
Dude, that whole wedding scene was freaky as hell.
yeah. There's like some satanic rituals.
There was like
going-
a satanic ritual.
They were like
going
dressed in like
on.
these black Ku Klux Klan outfits.
Oh
I'm
my
like, what the fuck? I'm like, well, obviously this is like a private thing. They're not. Oh no, the public is just
The
watching.
public
this.
is like very casual
You
about
think
it.
you'd
Like
be watching this on TV. It's on TV.
It's
There's
like-
There's
so
TV cameras.
they treated this wedding like they do for like the royal weddings.
If I'm sitting at home watching this wedding on TV, I'm like, what the fuck?
And here's the thing is
You're not
that
really hiding the fact that you're a villain.
nope he's got like some kind of mask thing going
What
on,
the fuck?
and like Clarice is like they have like given her something, like she is
Oh yeah, she's a little druggy. Huh?
she's like heavily checked out.
Yeah.
And she's just going through the motions of not really saying anything but just walking. And you've got all this satanic shit. And then when they're like filming it, you've got all these like black KKK people and then black in the reference of their cloaks.
outfits. Yeah.
And then you've got all these other people that are dressed like proper wedding attire, like pastel colors and everything. And you're like,
They like have a sword and
yes.
I'm like,
I mean, if I was a guest, I'd be like, what the fuck
This-
kind of
this-
wedding is this?
wedding's not quite right.
Did we go
I
to...
think the Count might be evil.
I don't know. I give him the benefit of the doubt.
But anyway, so then, well, it's not like Princess Bride, because in Princess Bride they don't rescue Buttercup till after the wedding. Now they sweep in the middle of the wedding,
Yes.
right? It's kind of so yeah, they're there, and then it breaks out into a whole fight. They go to the underground. They find the Goat Bill printing press. Inspector Zenigata does,
And they're like filming. This is live.
So
Everyone
it's like,
can see
The
it.
Count is busted.
And of course, they call him out for being a bad actor.
But now we go in the underground, and Clarice is snapping out of it a little
Yes.
bit, and her and Lupin are going through this like clockwork, like clock tower gears.
Yes.
And then apparently this scene, you were saying when you were watching it, is like
Great
Great Mouse Detective, and I looked it up online, and apparently it said this scene inspired the climax of the Great Mouse Detective. So I was like, oh, okay.
I
So
knew it.
the Disney guys who made that saw this movie and said, we steal that.
It's a good scene.
Yeah, so apparently, yes, Great Mouse Detective is, in fact, based on this movie. So it's it's always weird when there's like a movie that I saw 30 years ago, and now like 30 years later, I'm seeing the movie. It's like a time loop.
That's inspired by, yeah.
It's a movie I saw when I was 5, and now when I'm 35, I see the movie that inspired the movie I saw when I was 5. Isn't that freaky? It's like
It's very freaky.
crazy. But yeah, so they do make it to the clock face. Lupin, Clarice, and the Count do. And they put the rings in like a little socket.
So they're supposed to go in the goat's eyes.
Okay.
That's where they're supposed to go. One each in both the eyes. And it's supposed to reveal this
treasure.
this secret treasure at the... Oh, no, wait. I'm thinking... You know what? I'm thinking of I'm thinking of the last scene, of course, I say at the right time, because they go through a clock.
Yeah.
There is a clock.
No, I don't think it's time related, but Lupin and Clarice, they give the Count the rings, and they're like, let us go. And of course he tries to kill them anyway.
Yeah,
They
'cause
fall and they like make it out, but then he puts the rings in and he's like, I'll be rich now. But then the clock hands go together and they...
Oh my god. You hear like a snap, like something cutting.
So you think it was a full decapitation? See, I thought it was like a crushing, but you said...
No. How it sounded was like somebody getting his head cut off.
Because I looked at it a second time, it does look like his neck is right between...
The last part of his body is his head. His head is stuck in the middle of the arms. Mm-hmm. And as soon as it goes like that, like, it's his head that gets chopped off. Yeah. It's gone. It's not his whole body.
It's totally blank.
It's not his whole body. It's just his head.
Yeah, so the Count didn't think this through.
No, he did not.
No. But so then the treasure is revealed, but it's not gold or gems. The lake drains.
Yes.
The lake of Cagliostro, and underneath we see ruins, like Atlantis.
It's basically Atlantis.
Yeah, just castles and just various ruins, little
it's
old homes, and it's very beautiful. And they're like, wow, these must have been down here for thousands of years. But then if you really pause it and look at where the water line that they drain from is, the top of the ruins are like maybe like 10 feet below the top of the lake. I'm like, they've been down here for thousands of years. How didn't you find them?
Who was it looking?
Just take like the tiniest little swim and you like bump into them and be like, oh, hey guys, there's a bunch of ruins down here.
I think at several points they fall in the water.
Like, did you not see? Did you need some goggles?
Yeah, come on.
It's not like they're not like in the depths. Like it's not like in the Mariana Trench or whatever. Like 12 miles below the sea. They're just right there.
It's like the Little Mermaid.
Oh yeah, King Triton lives in the depths of the ocean. But then
you mean
you
like
see
over there?
The fish like swims down. Like the top of the castle is like maybe like 50 feet below.
You can see it.
But in that case, even I'll give the Little Mermaid this. It's still in the middle of the ocean, so I understand how they could miss it. This one, it's in a lake that a bunch of people live around, and there's a castle coming out the middle of, and the ruins are just right under the water. It would be like if there was something in the alleyway outside your house, and you're like, this must have been here for thousands of years, and no one noticed. But anyway, so they find that, but Lupin has to go because Zenigata is still chasing him, and Clarice is like, I want to join you. I want to become a thief. I want to go with you.
And he's like, no, it's not for you.
Nah, it's probably not, being honest. I think the lady for him is, Fujiko.
Yes, exactly.
She's the real lady for him, but they're always rivals, so maybe they'll never really get together. I haven't seen the million other Lupin manga episodes, TV movies, so I don't know.
Interesting fact while we're watching this movie. I've seen this movie before.
Oh, really?
I had realized that
I had not.
When I saw a particular scene. This is before we ever hung out or whatever. Mm-hmm. I was on Hulu one night, and you know how Hulu has just random anime? Yeah. This was on there, and I was like, okay, I'll just watch it and check it out. And I was like, okay, cool, and then I just forgot about it until we watched it last week.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. I'd always been aware of it because, I've been a Miyazaki fan since I saw Princess Mononoke in theaters in 97. I looked up his list of movies and went through and watched them, and I just never got around to this one. I guess because it wasn't Ghibli, I was like, it's not, I can skip that one. But I'm glad I finally, got around to it. Sealed that little hole in my Miyazaki filmography. But yeah, I've been aware of it, but I had not seen it until we just watched it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that pretty much wraps up the movie. What'd you think of it overall?
I thought it was fun. It's a fun movie.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was the animation was very beautiful. I think you can see that Miyazaki was a step above like the average director. Even watching this, I think of the action scene of him swimming through the aqueducts, trying to swim up the waterfall, the scenes in the catacombs, the way the castle looks overall, and I think it does look a step above what you would think an anime from the 70s would look like.
Yeah.
That said, I think it didn't really have necessarily deeper themes. Like we talked about, Taro is kind of examining hunger and famine, and that kind of thing, and the themes of identity, in Your Name and various other movies we've talked about, and a lot of future Miyazaki movies. And Princess Mononoke has all kinds of interesting themes about, the environment, and man versus nature and stuff like that. And Kiki's Delivery Service has all these themes of, selflessness and all that kind of thing.
Yes.
This one, on the other hand,
It's just a fun movie.
It's an adventure.
Yeah,
it's just an
a
adventure.
fun movie.
Is it saying anything about the human condition? No. It's just an adventure.
Just how not to have your wedding.
That's true. Don't model yourself off of Count Cagliostro.
Don't have some kind of weird underground wedding. It's weird.
Yeah, there's no real deep character arc. I'd say Lupin starts and ends the movie the same person.
Exactly.
It's not like Taro learns to be selfless.
Yeah, he kind of grows up through the movie versus...
Yeah.
So this was just like a fun adventure movie.
It's just an adventure.
With action and
It's
stuff.
Indiana Jones,
Exactly.
Discover a treasure, a lost civilization, have some adventures, little nasty villain to defeat, so...
Sometimes you just have to have a fun movie.
Yeah, so yeah. I liked it. It's... If I was to rank all the Miyazaki movies, I guess, what is there, 11 of them? It would probably be kind of towards the lower end of it, but that doesn't mean it's bad. It just means Miyazaki movies are really good, So yeah, fun stuff. You ready to move on?
Let's move on.
And I believe this is one you're actually very, very, very familiar with. This is kind of shades of when we talked about Unico. It's one I've seen like once and you've seen 82 times.
Like a billion times.
All right, why don't you tell us what movie we have next?
Okay. This is called Swan Lake.
This came out in 1981, directed by Kimio Yabuki, also from Toei Animation. Now this is where I'll have to pass it off to you because it is based on a...
It's a ballet.
Why don't you give us the 30-second sum up of the ballet?
Okay, it's basically about a prince who falls in love with a girl who's trapped in a swan's body who only changes at night by an evil sorcerer. He has a daughter named Odile, and they fall... So the prince and him fall in love and blah, 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 and...
Prince and him.
Sorry.
This took a turn.
The prince and the girl
and the
swan princess fall in love, and there's a battle, and each ending of Swan Lake is different, actually.
As is often the case for these animated films. The Little Mermaid certainly doesn't end how the original...
No, and by the way, there is an anime of that too.
Could be a future one for this very podcast, but so let's hop back to the beginning of this anime. Well, I believe we come in on some squirrels?
Yes.
Hans and Margarita.
It's just Margarita. Calm down. Calm down.
And Hans is like a simp. He's like, Margarita, why won't you fuck me? And she's like, 'cause you're a pussy.
Great.
But anyway, so Margarita, she has a crush on a human. We got some interspecies love. It's Prince Siegfried.
I also have a crush on Prince Siegfried.
He's a little pretty boy.
Shut up.
He's an anime pretty boy.
You know why I have a crush on him?
Because he has the long hair.
No, because he's voiced by Christopher Atkins.
Oh, that's interesting. Of the Atkins diet fame?
No. That's Rob Lowe.
You're right about that.
No, of Blue Lagoon fame.
Okay, that's interesting. With
his blonde hair.
So they're just hanging out in the forest. Well, him and his friend Adolf. Don't know why they couldn't have just done a quick rename of that character. Hey, maybe this character could be named Alex. Nope, he's Adolf. But so they see Swan in the
You're
lake.
missing somebody, and you're also missing somebody on this list.
Oh yeah, who am I missing?
He has two friends.
Who's the other friend?
You have Adolf, which is the big dumb oaf who lasts like 5 seconds, and then you have Benno.
Benno.
It's
an interesting name. So they see a swan in a lake. The swan has a crown.
She has a crown. All the swans come out, and throughout the whole movie, it's basically the music from the ballet.
I did notice that, even though I'm not terribly familiar, I could still. When I first heard the music, I was like, "Oh, this song is in A View to a Kill."
Oh, Jesus!
And it is. It is in A View to a Kill. When he's with Paula Ivanova in the hot tubs.
Jesus Christ! He's going. This
is now a James Bond podcast.
Oh,
so
no.
we're talking about A View to... No, so...
One day.
We got A View to... You got
A View to a Kill to...
It's now in my head. We got ballet music, right?
Yes.
So then, get this. fucking owl comes out and turns Adolf to stone.
You know why?
Because the name is Adolf, probably.
No.
Why?
Okay, so the swans are out, and Siegfried is looking at them, and he's like, wow, that's beautiful. And, oh, look, there's a swan with a crown on its head. And Adolf is like, I'm going to kill it and mount it on my wall.
Like, calm down, bro.
And you see this blue owl turn Adolf into a statue midway as he's trying to fire an arrow at the swan.
Mm-hmm.
And Benno, who did not do anything stupid, is like, we need to go.
Yeah, so they just leave. They leave Adolf.
We have to go.
Admittedly, they do go back for him later, but
Yes.
then they go back to the castle.
Not necessarily, actually. They just kind of go, oh, hey, bye, you're a statue.
So then they're back at the castle, and the queen is all like, yo, Siegfried, you got to get married, like, right fucking now.
No,
like,
it's more,
tonight.
No. It was like, okay, tomorrow's your birthday. You're like 21. You're going to be a man. I hope so. And by the way, you have to get married.
Like, you got to get married, like, fucking now.
You're going to be king.
We're
So
bringing
that's all that's happening.
Bringing in all these babes. You're going to pick a babe.
You're
You're
king.
going to marry. And then Siegfried has, like, a PMS meltdown.
Oh,
he's like,
stop it.
He's like, Arr!
I guess his friend was like, oh, congratulations. And he's like, fuck you.
It's like, I hate being the prince.
It's one of my favorite. I remember it to this day. It's not even that big of a deal. It's kind of funny. He just goes outside on the balcony and just like takes his fists and he's like, ugh.
I'll put a clip of it in
Please
so they
do.
can see what I'm talking
He's
about.
like,
The whole movie's on YouTube, so I guess I can put up clips without getting copyright struck.
So when he's out there, he's thinking about the swan, and then he's like, Benno, I need to go back. I have to see that swan. I have to. And
he goes, don't try to stop me. And Benno goes,
I won't.
I won't. And then we just stay on it for like a few awkward seconds.
Don't try to stop me.
I won't.
Then it's the next scene. I'm
it's
like,
the
oh,
next scene.
okay.
So he heads.
And keep in mind, we got the ballet music going this whole time. We got crazy ballet music. Then he tracks the swan down.
And she is like going really far out.
He goes on quite an adventure.
Yes, he does.
He's like riding like crazy like mountain paths that are over
Going
like
through caves, all kinds of
I
stuff.
would never follow a bird that far. I would get bored after like 5 minutes. I'd be like, well, I followed this bird long enough.
Also, he ditched his friend because like he was having an issue, and then like at one point he's like, "How far is the swan go?"
So then they're like in a little underground cave, sort of, and then the swan she becomes human.
Yes.
And I was disappointed because I thought that she would be tastefully nude.
No.
It's not nothing graphic. Just maybe she would see her ass and maybe she'd turn just a second of breast.
Jesus Christ, Tim.
Just a tasteful, just very tasteful. But no, she has like a gown on.
Yes.
So then he goes up to her and she's like, I fucking love you. I would die for you. I love you more than anything in life. You're going to be my wife. I'm like, whoa, the fucking brakes, bro.
It's a love story. Shut up.
I guess in all fairness, Ariel did decide that she loved Derek before even talking to him. So Siegfried has one up on Ariel.
Boom.
They at least talked.
Her name's Odette.
She's blonde.
She's blonde. Rothbart is the sorcerer who came and was obsessed with her and wanted to marry her, and she said no, and like her entire castle tried to defend her, and he destroyed everything, kidnapped her, and basically turned her into a swan.
He doesn't look human. He looks like a creature. He's like blue or something.
He's kind of green.
He's crazy.
Kind of reminds me of a toad.
Yeah, but he's like, you should come to this ball, right? And
he's like, I have a ball tomorrow. I want you to come, and I'll marry you and love you forever. And she was like, okay, I'll try.
She doesn't make it.
No.
She gets locked up. And occasionally the squirrels are following and kind of commenting on these things as they happen.
Yes, but here's the thing, is that she would have probably gotten away with it if Odile didn't bust them.
And Odile is Rothbart's daughter.
Yes.
And she's like a goth babe. She's like Hot Topic. She's like all like, she's like a vampiress.
I always like it when she transforms.
Yeah.
When she just like jumps into her like her body. She's like, no problem.
She's super hot goth babe. She have blue hair also, I think, maybe. Or is it black? You've seen this more than me.
It's blue.
It's blue. That's why
blue
I
hair.
kind of remembered that.
And then she's like a black jumpsuit, basically. Strapless jumpsuit.
Pretty fucking hot. I could think I would maybe get with Odile, not Odette, and be like, Odette.
Odile's pretty cool.
She's pretty good. Well, she's kind of doing some of the scheming here.
Yes.
She wants Rothbart to turn her into Odette, right?
So here, they both have magic powers. So, Rothbart every night is like proposing to Odette. And then Odile's like, oh, well, the prince showed up.
And then when Odette says no, doesn't he turn her bird into like a caterpillar?
It's like a caterpillar. It's so mean.
Oh, that's messed up.
It's like, and he's like, don't make me do this. And she's like, I hate you.
Understandably.
And she's kind of kept, like, if you notice in her home, it's kind of like a cage, like a bird cage.
It's like hanging, sort of like almost from a string, sort of. It's interesting.
But he's trying to plot.
There's obviously bird, swan symbolism.
Exactly. They're trying to plot onto like maybe kill the prince or do this. And it's Odile's idea, because she has powers, to turn into Odette, go to the ball, and he'll propose to her, thus making Odette available.
It's an interesting scheme. So,
and this is a thing that does happen in the story, where it's thus the Black Swan.
Swan Lake.
That's also a thing for ballet, where one dancer is playing the white and the black swan.
And that she had to do like a million turns, like pirouettes or whatever you call them.
32 fouette turns in a row.
Oh my god! I mean, that means nothing to me, but I'm sure it's difficult.
It's a tricky turn.
I saw the Natalie Portman movie. That's all I knew about it.
It's kind of you kind of swing your leg for the momentum, and you do it like 32 times. But that's kind of what happens. Is like she's supposed to be Odette, but she's really Odile.
So then we're at the ball, and all these babes are getting introduced to Siegfried, and he's like, "These babes suck."
He's got an attitude
he's
too.
Like, well, aren't you a fugly bitch?
You couldn't just be like hello at least.
Be polite,
Yeah, no, he's just like every time they introduce like Princess Catherine, and he's like, ugh.
Like, this is creating an awkward situation.
It kind of, what that kind of reminded me of was the Disney Cinderella, where the prince is just literally standing there. He's not saying anything. He's just rolling his eyes. At least he's just rolling his eyes. He's not like, oh my God, why am I doing this? This is stupid.
Mm-hmm. But then Odile as Odette shows up.
In a black dress.
And he's like, all you babes suck. I'm getting with this babe. And he's like, hey, Odette. And she's like, actually, my name's Odile. And he's like, whatever.
Whatever.
He's like, I shall marry Odile. And the queen's like, well, if it makes you happy, I don't know who this bitch is.
So they dance, and the squirrels eventually help Odette escape.
Oh yeah, they're trying to gnaw the ropes that hold the door
one
shut.
of the squirrels tried to beforehand try to communicate with the prince before the ball, we gotta go save Odette, and it just didn't pan out. But eventually the squirrels were able to get her there, and of course who is waiting is Rothbart.
Mm-hmm. So here's where I kind of took issues, because now they reveal the truth. Odile's like, actually, I'm Rothbart, so this isn't Odette. I'm like, you gotta wait till after the wedding. You gotta.
Oh, and she changes, and she's like, huh.
It would be like if in The Little Mermaid, remember when Ursula turns into a babe, and asked Eric to marry her, if he was like, I'm marrying this woman, and then she turned to Ursula and was like, actually, I'm a sea witch. I'm like, you gotta wait for the wedding, Odile. Ideally, you gotta wait for the consummation. You gotta wait till you're impregnated. Then the prince chases them, I guess, all the way back to their castle. And you saw what a long road that was.
But it gets there in a flash.
Yeah.
But this is the part I do like.
What's that?
Always loved it as a kid. Okay, so there's this huge reveal. It's not really Odette, it's Odile.
Mm-hmm.
She turns, and then, she's all upset because he confessed his love to the wrong woman, so it's not his fault. He got duped. That's it,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so she's mad, she's upset. So she tries running away, and keep in mind that all of the guests are witnessing this whole thing.
I didn't even think about that.
All of them are seeing this crazy ass shit.
I didn't even think about it.
And you know, she's running away, and then Rothbart turns into a swan. So she just like, you see how the transition works, where she's turned into the swan, and her dress is like the feathers and everything, and everybody else leaves, and the queen is like, you can't leave, you're king now, and everything. And he just takes his crown off, and he's like, I have to go. I forgive me, and then
like
just like runs away.
It's like Bilbo's. I have things to do.
And then he's like on his horse, and it's just like this romantic scene of like them going, and she's crying, and she's still crying when she gets back. And
but yeah, so then we have a classic little fight. But they return to Rothbart's castle, and Siegfried and Rothbart fight, of course. And Rothbart has the magical powers. You know,
there's like fire. He can like tap the wall, and rocks fall down. Cuts vine, and like the vine comes alive and everything.
Then you got to explain to me what happened here, because I did not follow it. So then the prince stabs himself. Then Rothbart and No Deal die.
They die because of love.
Okay, if you say so.
What?
I was like, what?
Rather than having Odette be alive and Odette being with this person, he'd rather die.
Okay.
And with that act of pure love, it destroys everything.
Okay. If only the people making the atomic bomb for decades knew that all they had to do was have an act of pure love, and then they'd have destroy everything.
Why every time I have to explain things, just to anyone, you guys always come on the attack? Shit! What answer do you want? I don't know. He was a bomb. He stabbed himself in the heart, and he blew up.
It makes more sense. But anyway, so then...
What do you want from me?
I don't know. This movie came out before either of us were born by some time. So.
Yeah.
But anyway, so then he's... Then the castle like disappears, and
it like gets destroyed.
And Odette's still alive, and the squirrels, and then he comes back to life. So I'm like, oh shit!
And then they're together
on top of a giant rock,
which I asked
a whole new problem.
How are they gonna get down?
Make Swan Lake 2 getting off the rock.
Getting off the rock.
But yeah. So in the ballet, does he not come back to life, or
don't forget? That bird that was turned to a caterpillar, it was turned back into a bird.
That's good. I like that.
And it was like, yay!
Now, was the ballet... does he not come back to life? Or?
We'll talk.
Well, go ahead. I mean, we're at the end of the movie.
So, in the original ballet, Odette dies first.
What the fuck?
What happens is that she rather than live as a swan forever... She decides to take her own life and jumps off a cliff into the lake. And the prince goes after her, and they both die. And then they ascend to heaven.
Okay, that seems a little supernatural. I don't know. Maybe I like this ending more.
And that kills him.
Okay.
Because
do Rothbart and No Deal still die?
Yes.
So everyone dies?
Yes.
I'm assuming there are no Hans and Margarita the squirrel.
No. Now, here's the other part of the story that they did not do in the anime. All those swans, they're all princesses.
Okay,
those are all kidnapped princesses.
I like that. Maybe they should have showed that. That would have been a good twist.
Yeah, they were all kidnapped princesses. And I believe, if I remember correctly, that when Rothbart dies, they technically... are princesses again.
Okay, that's interesting. Maybe they should have put that in the movie. That would have been pretty good. Watching all of them turn into babes.
But yes, they take their life and it's gone. Okay. And like at the end of the ballet, it's kind of sad. But okay, so they ascend to heaven, right? And they're like in this sun, and like when the like backdrop hits, like the sun is like rising. And they're in the sun, and they're just like, oh, look at us. We're going to heaven together.
Pretty good. Well, this ending is
This is a happier ending.
Animated endings tend usually to be.
Yes. This is a happier ending. I grew up with this movie, and so this is the one anime that I saw as a kid that was with like fairy tales that was like not the depressed ending.
That's good.
Versus like the Little Mermaid one. That one is the depressed ending where, you know, she kills herself and
We'll discuss at a future date.
ascends to heaven.
Yeah, so I guess I would say give me your overall thoughts on the film.
Oh,
but
I
guess
love this movie.
It's a childhood classic.
Yes.
Any other thoughts, or is that it?
I just love this movie. I also love the music. It's really good.
I mean, yeah, obviously it's classic music. So, you know, it's kind of interesting. I thought the prince had some issues. He's a little pissy, little...
The quote, it's different when you're a kid. Like, you didn't really think about some of the stuff and the line deliveries, and probably it's the translation. Like, I won't.
Now, here's my other issue is that the prince tells Odette that he wanted to marry her from the second he saw her. So I'm like, you wanted to fuck a bird? What's going on there?
It's the connection.
I've never seen a bird and been like, I'm going to have sex with that bird.
You know what?
It's never happened.
Why do you bother asking me for these answers if you're just going to shoot them down?
A beautiful peacock, I'm not like, I'm going to come in that.
I hope an owl flies in here and just turns you into stone.
It's possible, although we're pretty well sealed up. So.
Oh, yeah, by the way, Adolf gets turned back to human.
Oh, yeah. Who cares?
It was like an afterthought.
What if we got turned back to a human and then he shot Odette and she died and that was the end of the movie?
You would have probably shot a swan, probably.
Oh, God.
But not her.
Yeah, so that's
Rothbart
nice.
wouldn't have let that happen.
Yeah.
Rothbart.
So, yeah, it was interesting to see an anime interpretation of... and I'm surprised they never made a Disney movie out of this one. You know, they'd love to Disney this shit up with, like, some songs and make Rothbart like a Disney villain.
Now, I don't think it was Disney, but they did do that.
Okay.
We should just check it out, just for fun. Just for fun. Yeah, there's a song in there that I absolutely love, which is them growing up. It's hilarious.
Okay. Well, maybe we can do Trace Western animation podcast one day.
Yeah, they did do that, and then I think they did a sequel, but the sequel was
getting off the rock, as we all know.
Yeah. It's,
and I'll mention that we found this we found a version on YouTube that you said wasn't right, like the
no
music that was sped up or something. The voices were not right.
The voices were a little higher than they should have been.
So we were looking where else, and we found an interesting new resource for anime, which was an app called Tubi, and it's just
there.
like a general movie. They have some recent movies, some Hollywood movies, horror movies, westerns, but they had a pretty hefty anime section that I'd say we'll probably dip into more for this podcast. So, any other thoughts on Swan Lake?
Well, I've always loved it, even as a kid. I'm trying to look for it now, actually.
What, like on DVD?
Or VHS.
Some of these old animes can be a little tricky to find if they're not from, Ghibli itself. So, do anime chasing.
Yeah.
Too bad they had a really good anime store near where we live. It was called, it wasn't like a whole anime store, but it was Hastings. They had a great anime section, and they closed down. It was very sad.
This is kind of like Taro, where it's gonna be hard. It's kind of hard to find because it's an unusual one.
But at least it's online. It's not even on YouTube like Taro. It's on a more official service, so it might be up there for years. Who knows?
Yeah.
So it'll never be totally impossible to find. But that'll about do it. Shall we move on to our final rankings?
All right, here we go.
Who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
All right. What movie of these three films do you rank at number 3, Pearl?
Number 3, I'm going to go with the Lupin movie.
Cagliostro?
Yes.
Why is that third place for you?
For me, it was just a fun movie. There's no negative. I just, I wasn't totally in love.
Not mind blown?
Not mind blown. That's a good one.
That's your number 3?
Yes.
All right, my number 3, Swan Lake.
Oof.
By a pretty good distance.
Shut up. You hate that movie.
I never said I hated it.
Yes, you did. You basically said I hated it. And that's the last time I share my movies with you.
Is it true?
No.
It's true. All right, so number 2. What do you got, Pearl?
I'm going to put Swan Lake at number 2.
Okay. Guess I'd tell you to sum it up, but I guess you just kind of did. Childhood favorite.
Yeah. But I would put it at number 1, but that wouldn't be fair. You gotta switch stuff around.
You gotta compensate for nostalgia.
Exactly.
My number 2, I'm going to go with Castle of Cagliostro. Like I said, probably a lot of the reason I have it number 2. Well, I guess it would probably be my number 2 anyway, but I really did like the animation. I thought that visually excellent, fun, nothing mind-blowing. Like I said, not top of Miyazaki, but, I'm sure I'll watch it again sometime and like it. So it sounds like we have the same number 1, actually.
We do.
Is it great? It got rid of Black Demon.
It's got a catchy song.
Oh, yes.
It's got such a catchy song.
Is that the main reason you have Taro number 1?
No, because it also just, like I said, the animation was really neat, and it was just a good story.
Yeah, well, yeah, I like it because it's interesting, this, like, starving kind of society. I liked all the rice making. It had kind of there needs to be a word for a simultaneous cozy and creepy feeling.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a relaxing movie, but it also has kind of like a slightly ghostly vibe to it. And it does it's because it's a folktale, it does feel like kind of Tales from Another World. I think that's almost added to by the mysterious dub. And we got titties, we got dragons, we got rice.
Well, and you also, like you said earlier, it's kind of like you're learning something too, of kind of how rice is.
Rice making, you're learning about ancient kind of societies that didn't have not even modern farming. They didn't even have like medieval farming, they're
feudal Japan.
Yeah, so yeah, it's kind of interesting, and I thought it did a really good job capturing the folktale vibe. I think that the animation is definitely rougher than Castle of Cagliostro,
Yeah.
It looks more like what you think of as like TV animation, probably. The dragon stuff at the end does look good, but
The dragon's beautiful.
But overall, yeah, I thought it was pretty good, and I definitely would like to check it out again.
Yes.
I think we got to watch it on a spooky, snowy night, late at night and we got to put the rice on right at the beginning of the movie.
Well, I guess last night and early this morning, it was very stormy out.
It was indeed. We had a real blanket of snow, but we didn't think of watching it then. But no, I'd say maybe next, in a year, next winter, we should rewatch it. I'd love to see if we could get the DVD, but no, what I'd really love to see is if we get the VHS.
That'd be good.
That'd be awesome to have.
That'd be definitely a good
Build up our VHS anime collection. That would be the shit. All right, well, I guess, that pretty much
that sums it.
The movie is pretty good. There's 2 things we could do next time. We could either hop ahead and do some modern movies again before we do the next thing, or we could just power forward and start Ghibli and just do Nausicaa and some other 80s movies next time.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll discuss that in the off mic and decide what we want to do. It'll probably be one of those, though.
I think at one point we should do Unico, the Magic Island one.
Well, if we're kind of doing Ghibli movies and kind of other movies coming out at the same time as them, that would be quite a few 80s movies. So yeah, we'll have tons of opportunities to do Unico. I'd say cool. There's 10 Ghibli movies in the 80s. So
yeah.
Lots of Unico opportunities.
Yay!
So. All right. Any final thoughts for Tres Anime number 4?
No, I'm glad we did this.
Yeah, it was fun to hop back in time and explore the 70s. It might be some time before we hop back that far again, but maybe one day.
Exactly.
'Cause I didn't think we'd find anything as good as Taro looking in the 70s, and we just found it randomly, and that kind of sums up the spirit of this podcast. We just randomly find this movie.
Yeah.
No fucking idea it exists until we found it, and we were like, it's a good movie. So,
literally, Tim just looked it up and told me. I didn't even do any research on it.
I just Googled anime films from 1979.
I just walked into this movie going, okay.
I was just like, this is what we're watching.
Cool.
So yeah, I'd love to see if that happens again with this podcast. We find more stuff we like. It'll be pretty cool.
All right.
Peace out, everyone.
Have a good night. Have a good day.
Don't forget to watch anime. Watch anime all night. Watch anime all day.
Peace.
Don't go to work. Just watch anime. Later, everyone.